this computer, and then let me hit live on Insta. I'm gonna go live on Instagram too. I need need like a cool background drop though. I'm gonna put like Starry Night or something on here. Something really.
I could be Darth Vader.
Oh, look at that! What'd you say? Yes, I love that. Let's do that.
Where are you recording from? I'm at the Death Star.
Dude, let's open with that. All right, I gotta put it on live here.
Okay.
Comment, copy. Oh man, it disappeared. Hold on, let me start over. Go live on Facebook. Sorry on Instagram, you're watching me get ready on Facebook. Instagram's so much faster, but every time I try and get it on Facebook, I have issues. My internet issues.
It's Facebook for you.
Yeah, although no one's even on Instagram here yet, so that's all right. We'll let people get on. And Instagram truly is live, like it's not recorded.
Okay.
So it's kind of better to wait for people to get on Instagram because they really only see it that one time. All right, this is a good news interview with my buddy. Hey, as soon as you see this pop on your Facebook, share it so that all your people hit it too. All right, I'm going to go live and see what happens.
All right, go live.
Oh, shoot, I don't like this song. All right, we are live. I'm here with my buddy, my pal, my good friend, Lito Solorio.
Woo! Here I am in the flesh.
He amazingly is shooting this from the Death Star, right?
That's right.
I don't know how you pulled that off.
The Death Star and I are pretty. I have some connections.
Apparently, apparently you do. How long have we known each other? What is this? 20 years?
Yeah,
dude.
Actually,
what?
It happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. I'm actually filming from the past. It's kind of creepy.
Dude, we've known each other for 20 years. Can you believe that?
I know, man. That's kind of crazy. It's been a long journey, and you know where we've gone, what we've seen, what we've experienced.
I know.
It's maddening.
It is.
All of the awesomeness.
This is just another part of the amazing history you and I have experienced together. I wanted to open with a verse, so today I'm using my favorite verse because I'm with one of my favorite people. It's Ephesians 3. I've colored so much in my Bible, I don't even know what verse. 20. This is 20. Now to him who is able to do far more abundantly than all that we ask or think, according to the power at work within us, to him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus through all generations forever and ever. Amen. So, is that your clapping for me? Even in times like this, God is still on the throne. His glory is still going. So how are you doing, man? What is up? How are you surviving this quarantine life?
It's good. I mean, obviously there's some newness that we've all had to experience with all of this. I think for me personally, it's allowed us to think through kind of our own structure of things. I mean, my wife and I we're not against homeschooling. We actually very much support homeschooling, but now we are experiencing what it's like to kind of homeschool. And, it's presented some challenges. I think there's been a couple times where my wife and I were like a little frustrated with each other, only because we think, plan, and organize things just so differently. And it's not a bad thing. It's just we think differently. And I think out of being a couple for 20 years, we have learned how to manage each other in our world and our kids. But then when you add like very extensive schedules with assignments and all that, it's presented some unique, new growing experiences. But my favorite line my wife said, she says, "The school will not defeat us." And it's kind of been our mantra of just saying, personal mantra.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny you say that because my wife, a month before this all hit, was like, I think I'm going to start homeschooling Noelle. And I kept going, I know you pretty well. I'm not sure that's the most wisest, but I can't say very much. It's like, yeah, sure. That sounds. Anyway, I think we're getting a nice taste of what that's like, and we can't wait till school starts again. Yeah,
Of course.
I'd say that for sure for me.
Yeah, I think we feel the same way. And there's just there is a rhythm in the school year. And once again, I think it really goes down to teachers are just amazing. I mean, if you have a desire to teach and be in the school system, you have a gift that very few people have. Because even I enjoy children and I love teaching them, but probably a lot smaller doses than that of a full-time teacher. So
Do you
it's
see?
presented unique challenges, but we're managing.
I didn't know Lisa was on here. She's commenting on what I just said. So
Yep,
she
good.
still does want to do homeschool. By the way, you're speaking of teaching, your friend and my friend Ashley Paneer. She is
Yeah.
hilarious. Have you been following her on Instagram?
100%. She even
So good.
texted me and our old school improv team some of her jokes that she's about to send out, which is always fun. So
Oh
we get
my
a little.
gosh.
Usually we get a little sneak peek of what's to come, and she even asks for
She
some of our
makes
things.
geography fun. Like I'm like, geography sounds pretty cool. It's like the first time I've said that in my life.
If Ashley was our teacher in any subject, the most boring subject, she would make fun. You're like, oh, you want to teach me how to become a CPA? I'm interested, Ashley. Go ahead.
Yeah, that sounds like a great subject. All right, so seriously, Kansas, you're in the
Yeah.
middle of the nation. I'm in
Yep.
California. Obviously, we know everything happening in New York, and praying for everyone involved. What's the difference? What's Kansas like compared to the coastal regions?
Well, I'm on the phone a lot with my parents. My dad's telling me what he's experienced at work. He works at Table Mountain back there in Fresno area, and they, first gave them 2 weeks off. They said, come in for 3 hours a day, do some cleaning. My dad had to do some light cooking for some of the security team that was still there around the clock. And but now, I mean, it's starting to change even for a big casino like that. Some of the things that they're able to do, who they could keep on, because really, I mean, they're not making money. So I'm sure they have some money in savings, but how long can they survive? So
Yeah,
talking to him has put things in perspective. Talking to my brother, I mean, somebody posted that photo. I'll have to send it to you, but of LA, it's near the Dodger Stadium, and it's like a drone overlooking like our super busy freeway, and it's blank, like nobody's out
yeah.
there.
I mean, it
I
looks like Kansas here.
Correct, right. Now, Kansas, what's crazy is like I still have to go to the office. I go probably to the office 3 times a week,
Okay.
trying to do as much as I can from home, but I only go straight to the office. We only do grocery shopping. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
And it seems like there's still a lot of people that are on the roads. I mean, there's still a lot of essential jobs. Some of the restrictions here is that, you can't have more than 10 people at any one spot. To me, I think it's unique. I think 50% of the people are like taking all this seriously, and the other 50% are like, whatever, I'm going to do whatever I want. At least that's what it appears. I don't want to make a blanket statement. I'll probably have somebody on social media go, that's not true, but
Yeah.
it is what it is, and
Like,
that's what I'm seeing.
obviously St. Louis is Missouri. I won't make the same mistake the president made, but is that like where it's hit the hardest?
So I think he was in reference to Kansas City, Missouri, and people forget that the majority of Kansas City, like the highly populated side, is at the Missouri side. Now,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
some Kansas City that ends up in Kansas. Technically, Wichita is the largest
Right.
city in Kansas. So, we're about 500,000 people, and obviously there's a few more in the surrounding Sedgwick
Yeah.
County, I think is like
Yeah.
498 or something. Anyways, but the town my wife and I live in, just 15 minutes from Wichita, 12 minutes, is about 3,000 people. And I think there's more people outside. There's people playing with their kids. I mean, we don't even play with the neighborhood kids. We normally do, but everybody in our neighborhood is even keeping like a safe distance. And I think it's out of respect. We have a new family that moved across street, and I want to say hi, but I'm also like trying to do it from afar. Like, hey, glad you moved here, but trying to respect other people as well. I don't know if you saw Adam Sandler and Conan O'Brien interview, Adam Sandler was walking, in his neighborhood, and this lady was getting real close to him. He's all, "Get away!" And he was like getting upset with her because he does not want to get sick. He doesn't want his kids. And she's like seen him before, and he apologized that he overreacted. But it just makes me think of like having a couple of those moments where there are some people that still want to hug me and greet me. And I'm like, I've got asthma. Like, I've got to protect myself and my family. So like, it's not that I don't want to hug you. I'm a hugger. It's just I'm trying to be sensitive of keeping a distance. And
did you see, by the way, the ATM machines where they had the 6 feet of social distancing, but they're all right next to each other, and they're like, "Thank goodness it doesn't go sideways." I was laughing so hard.
It made me think of like playing a game of chess. Like, oh, it can't go sideways. It can only go in an L shape. Only go diagonally.
Some of the stuff were so like stupid. Some of the time it's just like, wait, if you're really doing it right, if you walk, never mind. Let's do this. I want to, as a pastor, you're a pastor, you're very extrovert. How's this been for you?
I am probably on, and it's fun. Here's what's funny. I probably have had more friends call me to check up on me, knowing I'm an extrovert, to say, "Hey, are you good?" Yeah. And I'm great. Like, I'm not overwhelmed or anything. I'm having, we just kicked off a new Bible study series via Zoom for anybody really. We're doing a study through the book of Philippians, and I kicked that off on Tuesday. And for the extrovert in me, I pulled into, I had to leave my house because it's sometimes hard to do Zoom with 4 kids in the home. But I sat in my car and did my Zoom meeting with my computer laptop. I had it hooked up to my phone. And I feel like I'm getting my extrovert time out there. And I play video games, and I connect with guys and gals that way. My wife and I play that a lot. So we're big Fortniters right now, and have been for maybe the last 3 months. So there's been those aspects where I feel like I'm getting to socialize. But there's also times where I think the hardest thing is I'm around my family so much, I'm realizing I need me quiet time. Like, I just want to sit and watch a Netflix Office episode and just have 20 minutes of peace and quiet. Yeah. So, but I love people. So it's definitely just it's a different way of connecting with people. Yeah. And I think because I'm a social media guy, it hasn't been the hardest transition. I think the hardest thing is just trying to find ways to minister to people in the social isolation.
Have you found, was there like an amazing moment or something that's happened since this has been going on?
I think it's allowed for like even to care more about our staff on a personal level. So like we have staff meetings via Zoom, and some people will go to the office and meet in their own office. Some people will meet for home. The majority of people are at home, but I came to the office this last week, and I'm checking on my team to say, hey, how are you doing emotionally? Not just what's your job performance look like. Right. And I think that's been a good thing for us as a whole, because I'm realizing everybody's suffering in some way. Like even if there's something I can't pinpoint right now, if I'm doing this for 3 months, it may come to a point where it's even hard for an extrovert, so just trying to find those ways to have that healthy check-in, talk about it, share your feelings, because, all of us, we react emotionally or we complain in unique ways if we don't find a healthy outlet. So I think that's what everybody's trying to discover. And in the same breath, I think the isolation of people being forced to be home is allowing them to actually stop and go, okay, I need to look at my family and have I been focused on them? Because for a lot of people, I don't know if we have been. Now, we've already had certain rhythms in our household with praying with our kids and talking about Jesus. But I'm talking to church members now where they're like, man, I've never had a devotion with my family. And they're now implementing that, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, it's crazy that a lot of stuff that you've been preaching for years and years and years, all of a sudden everyone's like, wow, man, I need to actually spend some time with my family and the Word. And it's like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So how are you pushing into that? So I think as I talk to people, assimilation, discipleship, and evangelism has all just shifted. So how have you guys shifted in that area? Is it like more Zoom Bible studies? How's your evangelism? Like how does all that look now for you guys?
Well, a lot of it is Zoom. My big thing is we started working with a ministry called Intentional Churches this last January. It was something that we've been praying and considering for I mean, I personally have worked with them before when I was still in California, and I think that their model rhythm, they have a thing called Church OS. It's a church operating system, and it focuses on this thing called the Great Commission engine, and all of it is centered about the 99 pursuing the one sheep. That, you know, who is the one in your life that doesn't know Christ that you need to be invested in? Because churches naturally will do everything inward. You know, we do things to make us feel comfortable and make us happy. So we've already kind of had this format with our team to be thinking about the one. We've been preaching on it. We've been sharing that with the church. So this shift has only told us to say, it's not a matter of we need to get upset that we don't have our regular church, but we're thinking, how are we pursuing the person that doesn't know Christ? You know, how are we thinking of them? So my challenge 2 weeks ago in a sermon was, this week, you may know Jesus Christ and you have hope for tomorrow. Like, hey, this is a tough season, but we're going to get through it. I know Jesus, he still sits on the throne. But what about that friend of yours that's sitting at home, that's feeling overwhelmed, is exhausted, is trying to manage the kids and feels hopeless? Are you reaching out to them? So we've kind of put a challenge to say every week, how are you connecting with your one? What are you doing to reach out, text? And even I, this last week, 2 weeks ago, reached out. I'm a part of a Facebook group of high school students I graduate with, Buchanan 2002 graduates. So I reached out to them and said, hey guys, I know most of you know I'm a pastor. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on. And if you're hurting, if you're struggling, if you just need somebody to curse about life with, you can yell and scream at me and I'll take it. I want to be there for you. I'm praying for you. Let me know what I can do. And I haven't had anybody really reach out just yet. A lot of people like the comment. But my hope and prayer is, you know, there are people that are floundering right now in this season, or are just lost a job. And how are we ministering to them and loving them and reassuring them, like, hey, you need groceries, we'll get you groceries. You know, we've been even trying to think, we've had a few families give birth to babies right now. How are we reaching out to them? Oh, we're just going to send them gift cards this year, because normally we deliver hot food to them. It's a little challenging when we've got to have the social distancing. So we're just trying to think differently about what service looks like and reaching the lost.
Are your people responding to that?
I believe so. I mean, I'm getting stories of people. We have a life group that went ahead and wrote, I think, somewhere around 100 thank you cards to our local grocery store, one of the local grocery stores that they live near, and just thank them for their service to the community. And to me, I'm like, wow, like that's awesome. That's a great way of just loving our community. We were setting up the week after Easter, this next week, we were going to do a coffee drive-in for people. Well, we've had to cancel that idea, but we're thinking, okay, maybe we could reach out to the law enforcement in our area. How can we, you know, buy their Starbucks? You know, a lot of Starbucks here have actually shut down, but just do little things like that. Give them a gift card once again to say, thank you for your service. We love you guys. And there's a lot of people that don't have the option to stay at home, and they're still protecting us and our community.
Yeah. Are you doing anything that, and maybe that was, but like unique because of this, the media, like something you would say, here's something really cool that somebody came up with.
Yeah.
Super unique.
Yeah. I mean, our church has looked at everything from going to the drive-in theater to do service. And part of us feels like it is better for us to not do something crazy like that right now, because people are nervous about getting sick. And then they feel like the church is responding in a way to say, well, we're going to meet in spite of what the government tells us.
Right.
But I don't see that being the spirit. I mean, people have made statements to me like the government's persecuting the church. I'm like, this is not persecution to the church. I mean, the virus does not have an out for Christians. It's trying to kill all of humanity, you know?
Yeah.
So
shutting down all of society to take down the churches, I just don't see that being the attack plan. It'd be a lot easier. It'd be a lot easier than that.
100%.
Take away tax, what's that called when you get your tax write-offs? Never mind. What am I doing? I don't want to give the government ideas about this. There's just easier ways than shutting down everything.
Correct.
All right. Sorry.
Right. No, you're fine. But you know, we're trying to minister kind of to family kind of system. I think, you know, there's a lot of things that we've done. You know, we've been putting out devotionals, and we have our Good Friday service Sunday. Friday night, but we don't know. To me, that's not the biggest outreach to somebody that doesn't know Christ. They're not going to go,
Yeah.
I'll go to church service online. We're just trying to be the church, like hands-on, one-on-one. Like, how is your friend? How's that neighbor that you talk to? I've got one elder who's been loving on a neighbor of his that's a recent widow, and he hates the isolation. He loves to golf, and he can't do any of that right now. So he's trying to reach out to him and talk with him daily and make sure he knows that he has a friend in his neighbor. Stuff like that, It sounds so practical and simple, but to me, it goes back to basics of what Scripture teaches. We all need community. We all need a relationship. We're just now doing it this medium of Zoom or Facebook Live or all those aspects. And I think there's some possibilities of some true growth in that. And then I think people are gonna, when we finally get the okay to get back together, people are just going to be excited to be around one another again.
Sure.
Probably like they've never have been before.
Yeah. And that probably, what you were saying before, that doesn't sound like it's probably new for you guys, but just like being with your family and opening up the word has sort of awakened, maybe reaching your neighbor and being a part of your community that you live, work, and play is awakening because of this as well. It's like going to church, that's good, but that's not what God has called us to in the neighborhoods we live in. And so hopefully those things are awakening. That's kind of what I'm hearing from you.
Yeah, and I think that there's a huge there's almost this response of like, we can say we know that the church is not a building,
right?
But so much ingrained in us that tells us we go to church, and we need to change that model to say we are the church. We can be the church right now when we're mowing our neighbor's lawn for them because they're weak and can't.
Yeah, so it's not like this is new language. It's just the fact that it's sort of forcing us to finally actually mean it.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So you are going to get a lot of visitors this weekend, Good Friday, Easter. I'm sure watching guys online. I just want to hear, do you have any like unique way you're going to connect with them or a simulation?
Yeah. Our attempt is always, like this last Sunday, we had 2 visitors for the very first time. They've never been a part of our church. They're not in our database, but they decided to live stream with us. One of them was from Oregon, so we thought that was pretty cool, and gave us their information because we understand when somebody fills out a Connect card, they're trusting you with their information. They're saying, hey, I know that we have a relationship. It might be just starting and budding, but I'm going to trust you that you're not going to constantly berate me with all this information. But we just reach out with an email, say, hey, we're so glad you came online. We know that you're in Oregon. How can we bless you? Are you looking for a church home out there? Some people, even because we live in Wichita, there's a McConnell Air Force Base. We get a lot of people that check out our church months before they ever move into Wichita. So they'll live stream us. I've got a girl in Florida right now that's watching all of our services. She loves our church. Her and her husband are moving here. And she's like, I want to be a part of your church. And I'm thrilled because she's really involved in her middle school ministry out there in Florida. So we've already become Facebook friends. So we're always trying to say, how can we make a connection with somebody that's here? We've added a new option. We did not have this until last week. When you Facebook Live our service or Vimeo Live our service, at the bottom in the comments, it says, hey, we'd love to connect with you. Tell us anything you need. How can we bless you? Here's a little connection card. And they digitally fill it out. It emails it to us, and we just started it, and we run normally about 1,600 views of our service after the weekend said and done, and that varies. I think our normal church attendance is 700 to 800, but so it's kind of interesting to see. I believe our reach right now has grown with a double impact. But they usually tell you your flock is usually about 2.5 the size of your average weekly attendance.
Somebody tells you what your flock is?
Yes, the flock of seagulls.
By the way, Drew Rutherford says he never will trust you with his information online, by the way.
Oh, no, he was talking to you. It wasn't me. It was under your live feed.
Me.
There it is. Real quick, for everybody to know, Drew Rutherford's cell phone number is...
He probably like it. He's a realtor now, so he'd probably like it. He'd be like, yeah, have them all call me. I'll sell your home.
If anybody needs to sell a home in Fresno, we know a realtor.
We do know a realtor for you, just for you.
But, with people right now, I think people are watching. I have a dear friend of mine who I love. He's an improv guy. He's not a Christian, and he's super respectful of my views. I'm respectful of his. But he's like done Second City in Chicago with Bill Hader. Like he trained with the comedian on Saturday Night Live. He's not on Saturday Night Live anymore, but Bill Hader, and he's just got great stories. And he even invited me to visit an improv team he was coaching back in the day in Chicago, and I got to sit in. But he had posted like a week ago, and I was dying because I'm always looking for humor in things. He says, "I'm sick and tired of all these preachers," and he had a little screen capture of some guy, "Come watch my live service. We're going to give you hope." And I thought, this is good for me to see that I've got a friend who isn't a Christian and he feels bombarded by it. And I'm like, I don't want that to take place. Like, we thought about enhancing our reach, and, you know, you could put things on Facebook to invite like people in a certain area code, demographic, and all that. Sure. But I went ahead and I wrote on his comments, and I go, "Yeah, I'm so sick and tired of it too." And he knew I was playing.
Let me dig into that.
Yeah,
what was he saying?
So you know, right now there's a lot of live stream of preachers.
I wondered this too, because everyone all of a sudden went live.
Oh yeah,
and most were not.
We've been live for a year and a half, so like,
right, you're larger, obviously. Yeah,
it was not like a difficult switch. I think some of my older congregants who had never watched us online, they were more nervous for us. Like, oh my gosh, are we gonna still be able to do this? And we had to probably had 13 church members. We had to like go and educate how to watch services. Now they're all caught up. They love it. They're having a blast with it, and they're even transferring their giving to online, which is, you know, where churches.
That's cool to see. A lot of churches have that.
Yeah, and you know, for people that don't understand church culture, you really do want your people to give online, because even during the summer months when they might miss a Sunday, it's consistent and
you get more regular. It becomes one of your bills, and you still know what's going out, so it's not like you're not praising God.
Correct.
It's a spiritual moment for you. There's not one time I give when I'm not thinking, okay, this is about God.
Correct. So that's been good for us. I mean, we've the first weekend we were nervous. We were contemplating if we're going to do budget cuts, and we know that that's still something that we have to prayerfully consider about in the future if we don't turn the corner soon. And and that's why we are praying that hopefully by the beginning of May there's some sort of regularity. But we're also anticipating this being a longer journey. Mm-hmm. And with that, the online streaming stuff hasn't been an issue. But imagine somebody who's not a Christian and maybe even is kind of hostile towards it, and they're seeing all of this information thrown at them. Obviously, we know that there's algorithms and all that with social media. Things that you like usually pop up on your screen, normally, if you understand that system. So I want to tease him. I'm like, maybe you clicked on one button that had a church thing, and now you're getting all these advertisements for it.
What exactly did he say, though? Was he like, I'm sick of all these churches in my feed, or I'm sick of the advertising? Like, what was?
I could tell you. I mean, he's a very open guy, and just I could really quickly look back at his social media, and he laughed at my joke. I mean, he's very playful.
I just only reason I'm pushing into it is because I'm like, I was wondering this exact thing where all of a sudden I think people are seeing a ton, because I am, like every other feed. Like, here's the deal. Not only are these pastors doing Sunday morning now, but they're doing posts all through the week, which I've always wanted. I'm like, why are people not using this medium to reach out to the community more? Well, all of a sudden in 1 week, the whole world woke up, or I should say the church world woke up and said, oh, I can still share Christ with people right here on this medium, but everyone's doing it at once. So I'm just curious.
So here's what his verbiage was. Anyone getting nothing but church ads, beyond annoying. And it's an ad, and it says a sponsored ad. So once again, churches can go to social media. We could do it too. And we could hit an age demographic and an area code just around our church and throw it out there and pay $20. $20 is actually will go a long way on Facebook ads. And my joke to him was, mine is always nothing but pastors, winky face. And he laughed at it too, you know, because I went to college with pastors and missionaries, and I would say my closest friends are all in ministry. I mean, that's just how it is. I'm in ministry. Those are people I talk to. I think that's a common experience. And he doesn't, him and I, we're super cool, and we tease and make fun of each other. And, there's jokes he makes I want to publicly laugh at sometimes, but I feel like also because I'm a pastor, I can't just click like on his,
What are you talking about? Anyway,
Yeah,
I don't even know. Tracy says people have too much time on their hands. I do think it's very interesting. Speaking of too much time on their hands. Hi, who's coming in? A brownie. Thank you.
Brownie Noel, thank you.
Oh, it's so funny. She did the same thing yesterday. It brought me food in the middle of an interview.
I love it.
What was I saying? Oh, you know what it is? A lot of it, the content's fresh. So a lot of the movie studios and TV shows and all this other stuff shutting down because they can't be near each other.
Yeah.
Whereas pastors and myself, like I'm doing this daily, it's like, well, we can do content right now. I don't need a studio. And most of the big actors are
services right through Noel, right?
That's right. That's right. Brownies, man.
Brownies.
Let's do a brownie recipe. Anyway, I think everyone's waking up to it really fast. And
well, there was an article that came out from I don't know if it was New York Times that talked about the 4-day work week, right? And I was looking at it and I'm like, I agree with that format. Mm-hmm. I think even siestas in the Mexican culture, like we're going to shut down in the middle of the day and take a nap and come right back at it. There is something lost in the American culture. And that's probably why I looked forward to move out of California, is living in California. It is the rat race of rat races. You got to keep going. There was a season, and it's no one else. It wasn't my boss's fault. It was probably more my fault than anyone's. But there was a season in ministry where in a single month, I had only sat down with my family 4 times to have dinner. And it was devastating to me. I was not liking it, and I couldn't shake it, and it was a busy season. Yeah. And moving out here, the Midwest is just a slower pace. They're very built on relationships. And so there's aspects where I understand where there could be a complete shutdown in California or New York and people are like freaking out. But there's an aspect where there is a slower pace naturally here. It doesn't mean that people haven't also been focused on their busyness lives, but I think God's could use this as an opportunity to wake people up and say, hey, we need to find rest. There's a reason the Sabbath exists. It's not that the Sabbath is something that we have to have lorded over us, but that we need the Sabbath so that we could recharge. And I ask that question all the time. In my year, I plan my sermon series, and I actually find rhythms where I know I'm naturally going to be exhausted, and I'll have a guest preacher come in. I'll have my associate preach, and it just gives me enough energy to feel like I can recharge and go at it again, or even yearly family vacation. And that's something I wasn't really good at until I would say the last 3 years. So.
Yeah, I'm still, I totally get that. And it's smart. It's kind of it's going to be interesting with the unemployment rate because so many because of the rat race, a lot of frontline jobs are gone really fast. And that part will be interesting. People have to reevaluate, like, okay, if we do slow down, like even when I go back, I've really been able to do far more from home than I was with traveling to all these different meetings. So will these Zoom calls be something we could do more often and be home more? And so it is going to be really interesting when all this stuff, how we adjust to it. Hey, really appreciate you. You're a good man. You always have been. I've been impressed with you. I would say I think I know who your previous boss was, and I would blame him for everything you were mentioning earlier.
He wasn't my direct boss at that time. It wasn't him. I can guarantee that.
Anyway, I should get on Fortnite with you. My son plays all the time, and I keep meaning to learn it.
Dude, come play with us. We're not amazing. I'm okay.
Oh, don't even. I know you.
No. Seriously. I know I game. I'm better at Halo and Call of Duty than I am at Fortnite because there's this building aspect that sometimes befuddles me and I'm like, mess up. But you are more than welcome to join us. And
you know what you got to get. So this interview is going to go sideways, by the way, if you're watching. But the VR Quest, have you done that?
I've only have PlayStation
Oh
VR,
my
so I
gosh.
don't have the Quest. I have a friend that wants me to come over and play the
The
Star
other
Wars
so
Immortal.
the other day I'm playing a game, right? I don't even remember what it was, but I have this thing on and I'm so into it and I so forget where I am that I ran into a wall so hard that I almost knocked myself out. What that tells you though, so I don't usually do that. That's not a great endorsement.
Yeah,
But what it is it's so realistic and I'm fighting in every direction and I'm supposed to stay still. You know, you
yeah.
have swords and stuff. You're supposed to stay still. But sometimes I'm like, ah, and I jumped into a wall and I was like knocked out onto the floor and I went, oh gosh, I'm pulling the thing off my head going, I think I knocked myself out. Like that really hurt. And I just thought, oh, I don't know if I can go back because it's so immersive. I keep
Yeah.
buying and finding new games that it's amazing.
We play a lot of Beat Saber on our VR. We love it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a good workout, and
Yeah.
when it's been cold, we'll play
Oh,
a
so
lot.
you have a VR? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, PlayStation VR, PlayStation VR. So it is virtual reality, and they have a lot of the same games. They don't have the Star Wars Immortal game, which annoys me, but they have a bunch of.
Do you put a headset on, like over your head?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. Yes,
Yeah.
so you know, it's just I love it.
I know. There's a lot. Like I can only play it for 20 minutes before I want to throw up because it's just moving.
Yeah, it is more intense. I've been doing like the boxing thing, and it's intense. I love it. I love it.
Well, come
Anyway,
anytime.
I love you, man, and I'm so glad you guys are doing well. Family's healthy. Everyone's healthy.
Everyone's healthy.
All right. Stay healthy and keep being Jesus to this community.
You do the same, man. I'm praying for you guys and love watching all of your family videos. It's kind of tough that you're making all these Disney videos and then Disneyland shuts down and you can't make those videos as much, right?
Yeah, it's funny. My wife's, I don't know if she's talking. Yeah, she's saying that's the 5th time I've ran into a wall. So I think what's weird about that, we have content, but Elisa's so creative that she, instead of making the content about Disneyland, she's gotten all into these, like making clay figures and doing things with the kids, but we still have content that we could be putting out. I guess I'm shooting this to a little direct shot at Lisa. We have some content that we should be putting out that we just have sitting on a computer. I honestly, with Disneyland, we obviously love it, but this has been it was the perfect timing for that because we were going 2 or 3 times a week, and it's kind of like, okay, nice to take a little break.
Yeah.
But I can't wait till it comes back. I think it's going to be like June, though. It's going to be a while.
That's
and even when it does come back, I'm already reading that they're going to have like where it measures your temperature, like when you go to airports.
Oh, wow.
And they can tell if you're sick. I don't know how they're going to do it. It's just crazy. I think you remember after 9/11, all our security protocols changed, right? And like when you go to the airport, it's ridiculous. I think after this, our health protocols are going to change. Like they'll be 100%. Measuring before you go into large groups.
Remember when we flew to Denver? We flew out of Fresno. I had a pocket knife this was 2003, I think. So a couple of years after 9/11.
Yeah.
And I had a pocket knife in my backpack. Fresno didn't find it. I forgot I left it in there. We spent a whole week doing that CIY camp. We get to the Denver airport and this very, I'm just going to say it was a cross-dresser, security worker.
You're just aggressive.
Very aggressive. He said to me, "You can't have this knife." Like they pulled it out of my bag. They had to photocopy it. And they had it with like a ruler and show how long. I was like, I didn't mean it was an accident. Take it, throw it away. I'm not trying to do anything. And they're like, you could be fined $10,000. I remember them frightening me. I'm like 20 years old and like, don't know what I'm doing. And it was like my second flight of my life. I'm like, I'm never flying with Hopper again. So.
Dude, I was with Ryan in India and he had a lighter in his bag. And apparently I guess lighters you can't take through. I thought they were going to put him in jail. Like it was as if he had killed a man. I'm like, what is the deal? We used to smoke on airplanes. Like,
yeah,
for my time.
popper. I used to smoke on this
I
airplane.
used to have a whole pack when I was flying, and now I can't even have a lighter.
My
This is
baby had a
ridiculous.
cigarette. My grandma had a cigarette. Come on.
Yeah, I honestly, I bet you the health protocols go through the roof of just any public space of a large crowd. You're gonna have to walk through some kind of monitors.
I've gone to two appointments for the doctor since all of this, just regular checkups. And one was just the eye doctor. I had to get my contacts, and it was right when everything was happening. And they emailed us saying, "Oh, we're not having anybody come in." And then I got a phone call like, "Well, Lito, you could come in." I'm like, "Why am I chosen as one that could come in?" But when I came in, they had to check my temperature before they let me walk into the office. It was crazy.
I don't think that's going away.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're awesome. I'm gonna stay on here. I'm gonna drop these live feeds, and then I'm gonna talk to you for a second.
Your wife also says that she's working on those videos.
Just good. I'm glad.
All right, she's doing it. I love it.
All right, I'm pulling us off live on both these screens. Thanks, man. I think we're not live anymore.
Cool. I have kids shouting. This is the perfect time to end it.
Yeah. Stop recording.